just chasing gold. When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? Step in the cave, see stacks on stacks, big scales, big scrolls, old charts, old maps. Silver dragoon on a hill of racks, laughing, saying, kid, you just chasing tracks. You count every tick, every red, every green. You trade every wiggle on a cell phone screen. I've been buying these bags since the dime was clean. Now you flipping like a fish in a downstream dream. I said, look, old head, time move too fast. Spread so tight, man, cash don't last. Price go parabolic, I can't just pass. I'm trying to turn ounces into double that stash. Stackers and dragons, mind on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader. So the future for a little bit greater. Hold that bar, let it sit in your hand. Weight like fate, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? He said, son, I got towels, the keys to doors, rental checks, rooftops, concrete floors. But I still took junk, silver and droves. Cause paper get loud and it don't talk no more. When the spot gets wild, all the tourists come. Boys with the jaws trying to call that run. They buy on a spike and bail when it's done. Stackers turn dealers just to say they won. I said, but what about flipping on peaks though? Sell a little high, buy back on the low. He grinned, every dragon thinks he times that flow. Till he trades his whole hoard just to chase one blow. Stackers and dragons, mind on the middle. One wants to move, one wants to sell. Price starts running, they flip to a trader. So the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weight like favorite, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? He said, mindset, kid, that's the game you play. You here for a season or you're here to stay. If a green little candle make you lose your way, then your long-term plan was a word you say. Stack slow, stack quiet, stack through the noise, stack through the pumps and the panic decoys. When they turn the traders all jumping for joy, that's when I'm buying what they sell like toys. Stackers and dragons, mind on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader. So the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weight like freight, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? Step in the cave, see stacks on stacks, big scales, big scrolls, old charts, old maps. Silver dragoon on a hill of racks, laughing, saying, kid, you just chasing tracks. You count every tick, every red, every green. You trade every wiggle on a cell phone screen. I've been buying these bags since the dime was clean. Now you flipping like a fish in a downstream dream. I said, look, old head, time move too fast. Spread so tight, man, cash don't last. Price go parabolic, I can't just pass. I'm trying to turn ounces into double that stash. Stackers and dragons, mind on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader. So the future for a little bit said, son, I got towers, the keys to doors, rental checks, rooftops, concrete floors, but I still tuck junk, silver in droves, cause paper gets loud and it don't talk no more. When spike gets wild, all the tourists come, boys with the charts trying to call that run. They buy on a spike, then bail when it's done. Stackers turn dealers just to say they won. I said, but what about flipping on peaks though? Sell a little high, buy back on the low. He grinned, every dragon thinks he times that flow, till he trades his whole hoard just to chase one glow. Stackers and dragons, mine on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader, so the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weight like faith, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? He said, mindset, kid, that's the game you play. You here for a season or you're here to stay. If a green little candle make you lose your way, then your long-term plan was a word you say. Stack slow, stack quiet, stack through the noise, stack through the pumps and the panic decoys. When they turn the traders all jumping for joys, that's when I'm buying what they sell like toys. Stackers and drags, mine on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader, so the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weight like fate, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? Step in the cave, see stacks on stacks, big scales, big scrolls, old charts, old maps. Silver dragoon on a hill of racks, laughing, saying, kid, you just chasing tracks. You count every tick, every red, every green. You trade every wiggle on a cell phone screen. I've been buying these bags since a dime was clean. Now you flipping like a fish in a downstream dream. I said, look, old head, time move too fast. Spread so tight, man, cash don't last. Price go parabolic, I can't just pass. I'm trying to turn ounces into double that stash. Stackers and dragons, mind on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader, so the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weight like fate, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? He said, son, I got towers, the keys to doors, rental checks, rooftops, concrete floors, but I still tuck junk, silver in droves, cause paper gets loud and it don't talk no more. When spike gets wild, all the tourists come, boys with the charts trying to call that run. They buy on a spike, then bail when it's done. Stackers turn dealers just to say they won. I said, but what about flipping on peaks though? Sell a little high, buy back on the low. He grinned, every dragon thinks he times that flow, till he trades his whole hoard just to chase one glow. Stackers and dragons, mine on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader, so the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weight like faith, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? He said, mindset, kid, that's the game you play. You here for a season or you're here to stay. If a green little candle make you lose your way, then your long-term plan was a word you say. Stack slow, stack quiet, stack through the noise, stack through the pumps and the panic decoys. When they turn the traders all jumping for joys, that's when I'm buying what they sell like toys. Stackers and drags, mine on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader, so the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weight like fate, heavy as chasing gold. When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? Boots on stone, torchlight glow. One way in, one way to grow. I step in the cave, see stacks on stacks, big scales, big scrolls, old charts, old maps. Silver dragoon on a hill of racks, laughing, saying, kid, you just chasing tracks. You count every tick, every red, every green. You trade every wiggle on a cell phone screen. I've been buying these bags since the dime was clean. Now you flipping like a fish in a downstream dream. I said, look, old head, time move too fast. Spread so tight, man, cash don't last. Price go parabolic, I can't just pass. I'm trying to turn ounces into double that stash. Stackers and dragons, mind on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader. So the future for a little bit greater. Hold that bar, let it sit in your hand. Weigh like fate, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? He said, son, I got towers, the keys to doors, rental checks, rooftops, concrete floors. But I still tuck junk, silver in droves, cause paper gets loud and it don't talk no more. When the spike gets wild, all the tourists come. Boys with the charts trying to call that run. They buy on a spike, then bail when it's done. Stackers turn dealers just to say they won. I said, but what about flipping on peaks though? Sell a little high, buy back on the low. He grinned, every dragon thinks he times that flow, till he trades his whole hoard just to chase one glow. Stackers and dragons, mind on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader. So the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weigh like faith, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? He said, mindset, kid, that's the game you play. You here for a season or you're here to stay. If a green little candle make you lose your way, then your long-term plan was a word you say. Stack slow, stack quiet, stack through the noise, stack through the pumps and the panic decoys. When they turn the traders all jumping for joys, that's when I'm buying what they sell like toys. Stackers and dragons, mind on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader. So the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weigh like fate, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? Boots on stone, torchlight glow. One way in, one way to grow. I step in the cave, see stacks on stacks, big scales, big scrolls, old charts, old maps. Silver dragoon on a hill of racks, laughing, saying, kid, you just chasing tracks. You count every tick, every red, every green. You trade every wiggle on a cell phone screen. I've been buying these bags since the dime was clean. Now you flipping like a fish in a downstream dream. I said, look, old head, time move too fast. Spread so tight, man, cash don't last. Price go parabolic, I can't just pass. I'm trying to turn ounces into double that stash. Stackers and dragons, mind on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader. So the future for a little bit said, son, I got towers, the keys to doors, rental checks, rooftops, concrete floors, but I still tuck junk, silver and droves, cause paper gets loud and it don't talk no more. When spike gets wild, all the tourists come, boys with the charts trying to call that run. They buy on a spike, then bail when it's done. Stackers turn dealers just to say they won. I said, but what about flipping on peaks though? Sell a little high, buy back on the low. He grinned, every dragon thinks he times that flow, till he trades his whole hoard just to chase one glow. Stackers and dragons, mine on the middle. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader, so the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weight like faith, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? He said, mindset, kid, that's the game you play. You here for a season or you're here to stay. If a green little candle make you lose your way, then your long-term plan was a word you say. Stack slow, stack quiet, stack through the noise, stack through the pumps and the panic decoys. When they turn the traders all jumping for joys, that's when I'm buying what they sell like toys. Stackers and drags, mine on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Starts running, they flip to a trader, so the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weight like fate, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? Step in the cave, see stacks on stacks, big scales, big scrolls, old charts, old maps. Silver dragoon on a hill of racks, laughing, saying, kid, you just chasing tracks. You count every tick, every red, every green. You trade every wiggle on a cell phone screen. I've been buying these bags since the dime was clean. Now you flipping like a fish in a downstream dream. I said, look, old head, time move too fast. Spread so tight, man, cash don't last. Price go parabolic, I can't just pass. I'm trying to turn ounces into double that stash. Stackers and dragons, mind on the middle. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader, so the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weight like fate, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? He said, son, I got towers, the keys to doors, rental checks, rooftops, concrete floors, but I still tuck junk, silver and droves, cause paper gets loud and it don't talk no more. When spike gets wild, all the tourists come, boys with the charts trying to call that run. They buy on a spike, then bail when it's done. Stackers turn dealers just to say they won. I said, but what about flipping on peaks though? Sell a little high, buy back on the low. He grinned, every dragon thinks he times that flow, till he trades his whole hoard just to chase one glow. Stackers and dragons, mine on the middle. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader, so the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weight like faith, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? He said, mindset, kid, that's the game you play. You here for a season or you're here to stay. If a green little candle make you lose your way, then your long-term plan was a word you say. Stack slow, stack quiet, stack through the noise, stack through the pumps and the panic decoys. When they turn the traders all jumping for joys, that's when I'm buying what they sell like toys. Stackers and drags, mine on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader, so the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weight like fate, heavy as chase and go. When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? I step in the cave, see stacks on stacks, big scales, big scrolls, old charts, old maps. Silver dragoon on a hill of racks, laughing, saying, kid, you just chasing tracks. You count every tick, every red, every green. You trade every wiggle on a cell phone screen. I've been buying these bags since the dime was clean. Now you flipping like a fish in a downstream dream. I said, look, old head, time move too fast. Spread so tight, man, cash don't last. Price go parabolic, I can't just pass. I'm trying to turn ounces into double that stash. Stackers and dragons, mind on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader. So the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weigh like fate, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? He said, son, I got towers, the keys to doors, rental checks, rooftops, concrete floors. But I still tuck junk, silver and droves, cause paper gets loud and it don't talk no more. When spot gets wild, all the tourists come. Boys with the charts trying to call that run. They buy on a spike, then bail when it's done. Stackers turn dealers just to say they won. I said, but what about flipping on peaks though? Sell a little high, buy back on the low. He grinned, every dragon thinks he times that flow, till he trades his whole hoard just to chase one glow. Stackers and dragons, mind on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader. So the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weigh like fate, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? He said, mindset, kid, that's the game you play. You here for a season or you're here to stay. If a green little candle make you lose your way, then your long-term plan was a word you say. Stack slow, stack quiet, stack through the noise, stack through the pumps and the panic decoys. When they turn the traders all jumping for joys, that's when I'm buying what they sell like toys. Stackers and dragons, mind on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader. So the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weigh like fate, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold?
Thank you for your patience. We will be getting started here in about 4 minutes. Last call for you to go grab a beverage, a beer, your favorite form of Mary J. Whatever you need, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have you here. Hang tight. Getting started soon.
step in the cave, see stacks on stacks, big scales, big scrolls, old charts, old maps. Silver dragoon on a hill of racks, laughing, saying, kid, you just chasing tracks. You count every tick, every red, every green. You trade every wiggle on a cell phone screen. I've been buying these bags since the dime was clean. Now you flipping like a fish in a downstream dream. I said, look, old head, time move too fast. Spread so tight, man, cash don't last. Price go parabolic, I can't just pass. I'm trying to turn ounces into double that stash. Stackers and dragons, mind on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader. So the future for a little bit greater. Roll that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weigh like fate, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? He said, son, I got towers, the keys to doors, rental checks, rooftops, concrete floors. But I still tuck junk, silver and droves, cause paper get loud and it don't talk no more. When spike gets wild, all the tourists come. Boys with the charts trying to call that run. They buy on a spike, then bail when it's done. Stackers turn dealers just to say they won. I said, but what about flipping on peaks though? Sell a little high, buy back on the low. He grinned, every dragon thinks he times that flow, till he trades his whole hoard just to chase one glow. Stackers and dragons, mine on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Price starts running, they flip to a trader. So the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weigh like fate, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold? He said, mindset, kid, that's the game you play. You here for a season or you're here to stay. If a green little candle make you lose your way, then your long-term plan was a word you say. Stack slow, stack quiet, stack through the noise, stack through the pumps and the panic decoys. When they turn the traders all jumping for joys, that's when I'm buying what they sell like toys. Stackers and drags, mine on the metal. One wants to move, one wants to settle. Starts running, they flip to a trader. So the future for a little bit greater. Hold that ball, let it sit in your hand. Weigh like fate, heavy as land. Are you building something or just chasing gold? When the fire gets hot, do you stack or fold?
Nah, you're just gonna have to listen through it. You ready? Good evening, all you sexy stackers out there. I appreciate each and every one of you hanging out here early, listening to our vibes, courtesy of our man Fish. Made a great song for this little conversation, I guess you could say, coming into the Dragon's Lair, as he says. I hope you guys are all ready. The conversation today that we'd like to go over is very much about what has happened over the last 6 or 8 months, 10, 12 months, where the price of metals has, what we believe, shifted people's sort of mindset on the metals, shifted their justifications, shifted their messaging on what they're stacking and why they're stacking. And we wanted to have a conversation about the old and the new and find out where this all kind of broke down, or if it even did break down. So please let us know what you think in the messages as you're going through this live chat. But without further ado, our guy Fish is in here waiting around, waiting for me to get to this. So Fish, how are you doing? Welcome. How's your evening?
My man work today, you know, my wife and I, she calls it my man work, where I have to an hour and a half of yard work, and then I just got a little crazy idea that I pressure washed everything in sight. So then that was another 3 hours of pressure washing. So
nice.
I'm a little tired, but I got a little nappy nap in because I knew I needed to be ready for this, and so I'm good to go, man. I'm good to go.
Excellent, excellent. I tried to get a little nap in, but I have this puppy, and every time I start to even doze off, he comes over and nips me in the arm or the leg or something to wake me back up. So we're all running on like no sleep as if we just have a newborn child. So we're doing the best we can, you know. But
yeah, a newborn, a pup is they're worse. Well, I mean, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess people don't realize how similar a new puppy is to a newborn baby. For sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, a lot of attention. So,
yeah.
Well, the topic at hand, Fish, is you've made some statements in videos, and I think we've had some good dialogue in your comments about how sort of the mentality and messaging around precious metals and silver in particular has shifted, and people's narratives have shifted. And I was wondering if you could kind of elaborate a little bit more on how the messages were, many years ago, and how the messages are today, and how you see them different.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I personally believe there's been a lot of shift in kind of, although it almost appears to be like a 360-degree Rolodex of ideas. Now I'm kind of, as I look at it, based upon wherever the current market's at, to the narratives that people bust out to support their reasoning for being ultra bullish on silver, or ultra bullish on junk silver, ultra bullish on whatever. But yeah, I mean, like a simple one was that silver, for many people in the community, we got into stacking because we sucked at saving money, And so silver is like a gateway drug to financial freedom. And that after you learn to develop a little pile of silver, then you start stacking a little gold. Next thing you know, you got a little wealth. Next thing you know, you realize, man, I can actually stack some cash. And then you're stacking cash, and you're building some reserve assets, and then you're getting into some other things. And people get out of debt. They discover financial freedom. They discover all sorts of things through stacking silver. I think it's a great way. It's a great gateway drug for many people that to financial freedom. And then, when junk silver wasn't performing, and I pointed this out, then people said, well, if you don't have any base savings, you have no business even stacking silver. And I'm thinking, what the heck? Like, silver's always been a gateway for us. Now, maybe for other people in the rest of the world, or you're just great at saving money, right? Yeah, everyone lives paycheck to paycheck. I think stackers are actually the ones that are kind of figuring some of those things out. So that's one little way that I saw the narrative change. And then I guess the other way, the big way, is that it's kind of like I found myself reminiscing back to the days of Bill Clinton when he said, well, it depends on what your definition of is, right? His famous line, right? The definition of is, when he says that he was not currently having an affair with Lewinsky, and so it was all this whole thing on the word is, and I felt like the word liquidity was pretty much a common sense term. Zero liquidity meaning you can't sell it, and liquidity meaning you could sell it. And suddenly I'm debating the word liquidity with people, and that sort of mindset was never there, right? I never had to debate what the word liquidity meant, So yeah, I mean, I think that people love their silver. I love my silver, man. And this price, I definitely want to get into how the price action has really changed people. Because I haven't really focused so much on that, but as you and I have talked and I've thought about those things, yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. It kind of rewrote the rules to what a stacker was,
Yeah, I feel like when I first started getting into watching YouTube videos about precious metals, which I didn't really care about any videos on this stuff till about 2 years ago. A lot of the messages that I heard back then were mostly about your standard stuff. Hey, stack precious metals. It's a safe haven asset. It's got thousands of years as being currency. So just in case there's a financial issue, or the currency gets inflated, whatever, it's out of the system. Those were like the core tenets for stacking precious metals, especially silver. It was just those things. There was a few channels, right, that were like all on the, it should be way higher than $20 an ounce because, the global supply and demand issues and stuff. But for the most part, people were just talking about it as like a safe haven asset.
Well, you said that too, right? Out of the system, not part of the financial system, right? That's definitely been a historical narrative for sure. And then I've taken exception to everyone saying, well, you can still sell, there's still liquidity when you go peer to peer. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. There is, you're right, you're not wrong. But I thought we were trying to stay out of the system. And then they would say, well, your cash is in the system. Well, obviously I get my paycheck, I got to put that in the bank. But when I pull cash out and I buy silver, that silver's now out of the system. And if I, you know what I mean? Like it's not, so out of the system has definitely been a historical narrative within the community, but that one for people wanting to justify their position, they then find themselves being drawn back into the system.
I mean, do you think that that's got something to do with sort of like, okay, our kind of like our prized pig just won the trophy again, right? It's kind of like when things were stagnant, when metals were stagnant, and you could just you could buy whatever you wanted. Nobody really cared. Everybody was just kind of like celebrating and appreciating each other's. Right, oh, you got some 90%, awesome. You got some 10-ounce bars, awesome. You got kilos. Like nobody really, there's not this like hierarchy of needs of silver, right? Everybody was just like, just collect, stack what you can, get what you can, because it was all relatively the same price. Nothing really shifted. Premiums were all fairly close, unless you're buying, like numismatic type stuff, right? And then when price started going up, I started noticing like a lot of conversations about like, which silver is best, right? And I'm guilty for part of this as well. I'm not trying to act like, I'm not the pot calling the kettle black here. I made some videos about this. I talked about this too, but it's like, is there the right silver or the wrong silver? And I don't know. I mean, it feels like the whole narrative shifted for me from like just stacking, again, getting out of the system and just having some kind of safe haven asset to all of a sudden it's like this race to get the best value, to accrue the most wealth, or to get the most credibility, in the community by, explaining what you're stacking and how much you're getting it for and this and that. Like, price predictions, like it all started to get like this euphoric phase of chasing these number values higher and higher and higher, which again, to your point, like that's the irony. It's like, well, I thought if your point is to get out of the system, then why are we so heavily dependent on what the system is doing to move the price? And then we're all using that to justify all the means and like I was right to do this. I was right to invest in this. You see what I mean? I told you so, right? And it's like, I've seen that in many other markets, and I just thought it was really weird to kind of see that shift in the metals market. It reminded me a lot of like Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, to be quite frank. And I know people don't like to hear that. They don't like to hear somebody say metals and crypto in the same sentence, but that's the truth. Like I heard the same justifications and stuff. Like I told you, Bitcoin should be over 100,000 because of XYZ. The halving is happening, and if you look at the charts, every 2 years after the halving, it goes up 50%. Like it's all the same kind of conversations, all the same kind of justifications. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, it's. I know, like, I mean, there is an element. I will say, like, and I've been like, I got a lot of feedback in my comments, like, who the heck are you talking to, And for the most part, the majority of my videos that I've made, I'm actually speaking to people that leave comments. Like that's my audience.
Yeah,
people that
me too.
I get my videos generate a lot of comments. I'm not necessarily calling out, and I've dropped names, the whole deal, and I've called out other channels specifically. And when I do talk about another channel, I think it's respectful to actually call them out specifically than to talk about them and not name them. Right? I think it's more respectful than name them. But there's an element of making content, right, which I get, and I make content, and I try and make, and I try and have like a little bit humorous aspect to my content. It's dry humor. Not everybody gets it. I think people who played sports or people who are in the military get my humor better than people who didn't. Yeah. But that is what that is. But I've done many videos talking about, hey, look, I bought it here, I bought it there. But I would always kind of, and I'm not trying to pat myself in the back in this or say, look, but I would always say, like, in a bull market, everyone's a winner.
Yes,
in a bull
absolutely.
market. And so I would talk about, look, I bought this 3 weeks ago at this price, and then it just arrived, and now it's $5 under spot 3 weeks later. I mean, those are things that never happened historically. Like, if you bought Eagles, you expected maybe in 3 years to break even on the premium, like because silver just moves so slowly. if you bought, you know, a germanium mint, you're like, well, that's for my deep stack because I'll break even on that in 15 years.
Yeah, exactly. You know, well, hold on. That's a good point too. The definitions of deep stack and what goes in the deep stack and comes out of the deep stack seems to shift with the price of metals too.
right, exactly. And so, but I would say like, hey, but you know, everyone's a winner in the bull market, like because we can do no wrong. So there's, I think that, I guess maybe in not defense of the people, but to say like, look, there is an element of like we make content, right? So we're content creators and people like to see what you bought, you show them what you bought and all this thing. And then suddenly with the prices going crazy and then premiums contracting or premiums expand, like all liquidity issues and all this different stuff, suddenly there was an element to like, well, what the heck am I going to be stacking? You know, like I've always wanted a 100 ounce bar. I've never bought one. I've owned a lot of kilos and now I'm like, I won't stack anything under 10 ounces, you know, I mean, over 10 ounces, you know? And so that would be like, I mean, so I think there are some shifts that happened because we saw like no one that I really know of, everyone talks about that. I think it was a 2007 or 2008 when silver went up to $50. But I started stacking in 2003 and I was oblivious to that. I started stacking, but I didn't even follow the gold and silver price really back then, you know? And so I kind of missed out on that. I don't think YouTube was pumping like it is now back then. And so we've never as a YouTube community seen what happens collectively when the metals market absolutely goes insane. And now we all did. And so I think there's something to that, just to say that, I mean, you got to make content about something.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely, coming up with original ideas to create content, you know, it's harder than it sounds because it feels like everything's been talked about, everything's, you know, been hashed out somewhere, some way. But I mean, I agree. Like, you know, posting your purchases and stuff like that. I meant more like just the mentality of we don't care about price, and then all of a sudden, you know, price is a pretty important factor that everybody talks about, right? And again, I'm guilty of this too. Like, I mean, I was really excited to get, you know, silver for $90 when it was 110. I'm not so excited about that purchase today, right? Like, it's just part of it. You know, it's like, oh, good.
Well, when you talk about the changing, like some of the changing mindset, so I can tell you from, I don't know, maybe when I started following YouTube was 2018. I started doing content in 2020, early 2020. And then all the way up until just recently, you know, it was assumed there was that silver's always just going to pull back. You know, it's never just going to go crazy. And even if it does, like, hey, man, if we hit 50, it'll probably come back and we'll have a floor at 35. We're at 20 now. Like, that was a normal concept. We all talked about it. So, that, you know, and people can maybe debate me whether the things I'm saying are, you know, did we really talk like that? I think we did. That's what I remember. I remember that no one ever thought silver just, I mean, there's a few crazies, right? But no one ever thought silver would just go up forever and not pull back. All you got to do is look at every historical chart there is. So this idea that what goes up 100% of the time must come down doesn't mean it goes all the way down, right? But I mean, I've been in a lot of video debates and this specific thing. I'm saying, look, there's no way that it's not going to be a big pullback. I know Thousandaire was huge on that. He's been talking about that from the beginning, and there's obviously going to be a pullback, and that's just, and people were like, you know, no, it's different this time. It's different. We're jumping past 100 straight to 200. We're going, then we're hitting 300. It's different because now look at all this, you know, and they would list all these things, which are the same things they always list. So I'm like, that's not really different, but okay, you know, but they would list all their things about, and it's like, that was weird to me. I felt like, because I always felt like I had a commonality with the majority of the stackers. But then when I hear them talk like that, I'm kind of like, okay, we ain't the same, because that's crazy talk, right? Nothing does that. What asset in the history of assets has ever done that? That's not how they work. I mean, you're in a lot of different assets, right? To my knowledge, that's not what assets do. They take off on emotion and they come back down, and you might have a higher floor for sure, right? But it's got to come back at some point.
Well, when they do that,
like
you sell. Like, I mean, just to be quite frank, when you see that kind of chart, you sell. And I didn't sell. I transferred a lot to gold. I transferred into like 4 ounces of gold during it. from
Yeah.
I guess probably around 60 to about 110. I was just selling, or whatever, selling silver one spot, buying gold to the other, or selling it online and then buying gold online, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't a lot. It was just whatever 4 ounces is, but it still was just like somebody in the chat just said something like, what I learned from this is to always have a base layer that I'm willing to sell or trade for gold. I think absolutely, like in that base layer, right, from what we talked about last time, is probably going to be generic 1 ounce rounds, or generic 5 or 10 ounce bars, something that you can just offload whenever you want to, or you see an opportunity to get into something, right? That's your liquid stack. We'll use your liquidity word.
Yeah. No, I mean, for sure. I totally agree with that. But even that, right? Like, so I'm in a few different like text chats with a group chat, and we all just kind of send chats back and forth. And one of them is with I'll just name their name, Bullion Addict, and then Bucks Nation and myself. And we had a third guy, and Trump won, and then he hated us and he left. So he showed his true colors. He was out of there. He was like, you bunch of freaking, he just couldn't handle being in a text chat with a bunch of people who were happy that Trump was in office. So he took off. So now there's only 3. But we always debated and always talked about it. It wasn't really a debate, but we always say, okay, so if it hits 50, right, are you, because like some of us had hefty, if it hits 50, are you going to just pay off that car and throw another 50 into your mortgage and maybe refinance it, and like, what are you going to do when you hit that number? And there was always like, well, if it hits this number, I'm definitely going to sell something, because and then when it started to go up, suddenly it was like, I mean, you sold from whatever, rough math, from 60 to 100, right? And I sold maybe a little lower in that range. I from more like 60 to, I think the highest I exited at was like 94. Was my highest exit. But then people were like, dude, you're crazy for selling. Like, why would you sell? And I'm just thinking, well, I don't know. It's doubled in price in a year. So it seems like it doesn't mean I'm not stacking anymore. I mean, I got a pile of stuff right there. That's $20,000 in gold and whatever other in silver. I mean, I still stack, and that's just a little portion. But why wouldn't we want to sell some? And I realized that stacking is a long-term endeavor. And one of the reasons why that we said, hey, you don't sell, is because we had this long-term mindset of where price needs to be before you could sell.
Yeah.
The price got there in a year. We went from 30 to 120.
No, I mean, that's an insane move. Yeah.
But it's like, okay, so if we're stacking for this future event, and it just so happens that future event happens in a year from now, and many people are sitting on triple to quadruple. People that started stacking at $15 and $20, people started stacking at $10, and now we're at 80 or 90. I mean, why would you not reallocate some resources to some other things and realize that this can't stay up forever? But the mindset, man, it's that greed mindset, and I'm not trying to say everyone's greedy. It's just, I get it. I mean, I've been there with crypto of not wanting to sell. I've been there on stocks of not wanting to sell. I've learned over the years that I've lost more money from not selling than I ever lost from selling, ever.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same.
Because I ride it up and ride it back down and be like, wow, I'm back where I started.
I look at it like that, is just say, okay, when it was up to like 80, 90 bucks, with the first time, and it's like, okay, what would make me more upset? Not selling anything or not transferring anything to gold, and it falls back to $45 an ounce, and I missed that opportunity to basically encapsulate 50%, right? Or if I did sell something, and again, we're only talking like 5%, right? 10% of the stack. So it's like, okay, so I sell something, and then it goes up to 200, and that 10% I could have doubled again. But oh well, what would make me more upset? Well, the one that would make me more upset is if it falls and I hadn't transferred anything or sold anything. So I just went with that. It was just that simple. I just know who I am. And kind of like you said, I've been burned on sure bets. I've been burned on risky bets. It doesn't matter anymore. So if something doubles, taking 30% off or 50% off the top, meaning selling or getting rid of 50%, and then just writing the rest out for free cost basis, it's not ever a bad play, But anyway, I mean, that's hindsight at this point, right?
Yeah, there's two different types of stackers though in the community. There's I believe there's basically two. There's what we're talking about, which is people that would like to capitalize on a big move, and then we can debate what that big move looks like. And many of those, they see it and then they can't pull the trigger because they're waiting for that next move. They're more afraid to miss out on the next move that they then see themselves taking profits at or whatever. And then there's the stacker who stacks for completely different reasons. And it's solely about ounces. It's about this future collapse of the system where silver becomes the dominant source of currency and all this stuff. To those people, I have nothing for you. We're on such a different mindset of how we view silver, the economy, the world, all this stuff, that it's like there's no hate at all. It's just that I can concede that many of the things that I've talked about really don't apply to them.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, that's exactly right. Just different styles of stacking and different whys, right?
If you truly don't believe that price matters and all you care about is accumulation and you stack junk because you're looking at a barter scenario, you believe that the U.S. currency is going to total collapse and silver is the future of everything, then it makes perfect sense to just put your head down, stack, care less about anything else. But I would say that's like probably a 5% of the community, and the other 95% are just dudes realizing that it's a lot better to put my money in silver, gold, platinum, than it is to just leave it in the savings account or to lose it in a stock that my golfing buddy gave me a hot tip on, or you know what I mean, or I tried crypto and that didn't work for me, or and so I think most people are in a place where they see the value of metals. They see that the purchasing power of their dollar is just going away, and that metals is a great place to be. But this past year has really it's been, I mean, there's a lot of, like, there's some new dudes, like really cool dudes, like Pang, right? Pang's a great guy. He's in the chat right now, I believe. And he's talked about like when he got in, and he basically just saw just a absolute hit from when he started stacking to, I mean, he just, I never experienced nothing like that, and most of us didn't, so there are people that started stacking in January last year. And what a ride they were on. Yeah, their perspective on stacking is completely different than people that have been doing it since 2005 or whatever,
Yeah. Well, one thing, I mean, 49s has just mentioned something as well that, he was saying that he repeatedly mentioned that, a pullback is kind of like, the price increasing is unsustainable. There might be a pullback. And I do think that, honestly, I feel like a lot of the people I watch were pretty responsible with their messaging. But let's be real, where it's not just the price of metals that went up. Like you just said, a lot of new people came into the community recently because of the surge in prices. It brought in, like, let's just say new blood, new viewers, right? New YouTubers, new stackers. It brought in everything. And what's funny is like, it all, like, that made a lot of the larger channels get a lot more attention. And guess what? When you know that all you have to do is say the message that resonates with the most people, whether you firmly believe in it or not, you're going to do that if your goal is like massive channel growth and sponsorships and things like that. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And I do think that responsibility is part of what played into that mindset, because I don't know about you, but I watched a lot. I watched pretty much all the YouTube guys talk, right? Big or small, I don't care. And it's funny. It's like I'll hear like Bald Guy Money say something, and then all of a sudden I'll hear like 15 other channels parrot exactly what he said, and then like people will come in the comments and they'll say exactly what he just said as if like it's fact, right? Everything, and so it's like you'll same thing, Yankee and Dragons and all these guys, right? And I watch them all. I appreciate their perspectives and videos, but it's funny because like if that's the resonating message, if there's no temperance with it, like there's no like caution, like genuine caution, not just like, hey guys, buy, silver keeps going up, these are all the reasons it goes up, oh by the way, but it could go down, this is not financial advice, like that's bullshit, right? Like you're telling everybody to buy, just own it, right? I think that helped create this maniac, euphoric moment in metals. And I know that we don't push the price up as the retail investor, but what it does do is it pushes the narrative and the message to the smaller stackers, us, the guys that are only putting, a few $100 a month or $1,000 a month or whatever, or $50 a month, it doesn't matter. But it creates in their mind this idea that like everything that they've believed is justified because all these other people are saying the same message. I think that there's a responsibility that people need to take a little bit more seriously with like what they're putting out, you know, what they're saying.
Well, yeah, I 100% agree with that. I mean, one of the reasons that I never thought I would become this edgy, controversial guy, and especially
Yeah, you did. Shut up.
yeah, not like this. I mean, I've literally lost friends because of the stuff I've said.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, man, there's pornography, there's sex trafficking, there's freaking the whole Democratic Party and their desire to mutilate children. There's so many evils on the internet. And because I'm looking out for the smaller channel, telling them, hey, bro, pump the brakes on junk because it ain't liquid, my opinion.
Yeah.
Also, it's not liquid. That's fact, right? Refiners have come out and said, we're not buying it. So that's a definition of liquidity. You can't sell it. It's not liquid. And so I'm saying this. I'm not saying it to everybody, and I'm not insulting someone who has a big fat junk stack, but I make content for fun, and I am trying to look out for the small guy.
Yeah.
And you would think that, that to me shouldn't be that controversial, right? But yeah, so it's been a little bit nutty, man. It's been a little bit nutty. I admit, I definitely I troll people in my videos in what I consider a lighthearted way, and I say things that are provocative, and I come up with my little catchphrases. I mean, calling the community woke. I mean, our community woke is a democratic thing, right? But when you deny reality and all these other things, and the community's gone woke. I'm joking, right? Obviously, we're not woke stackers. Like if you were a woke dude, I just block you from my channel. Bye bye. I don't need to listen to your nonsense, right? So, but there's definitely people. It's been very interesting. I mean, so I just saw a video today. I guess what I keep seeing is this constantly this inability to accept reality or speak to it. So I just
saw changing narrative, right? And that was something you were big on. Like people just change their narrative to fit whatever is current.
I just saw a video by Common Sense Christian Financial, and I really like the guy. I absolutely do. When it comes to chart analysis and accurate historical chart analysis, the dude is good, and he does it old school on the whiteboard. And I just really enjoyed listening to him. But he just put out a video, price doesn't matter, with silver. I don't remember if it had a question mark, does price matter, or price and silver doesn't matter. And then he went through all this justification. And that's something that all we talk about is price. And now that we've tanked again, oh, well, guess what, guys? Price doesn't actually matter, and it's wow. We will just twist it to make sure that we feel good about ourselves, Yeah.
No, I mean, it's also, I feel like, again, I think sometimes the messaging on videos, again, if you're trying to grow and stuff, you have to, I think, in the nature of it, the beast is you have to kind of fence right a little bit and try to appease as many people as possible. And I think that sometimes that's what I feel like somebody who has genuinely best interest out there can get kind of caught up in chasing the narrative, or taking whatever the common narrative is and kind of extrapolating on it, even though they may not believe on it or believe it to be fact, but they just want to talk about it. But it can confuse people. I really do think that it sends messages out there, because when price was going up, right? Explicitly, remember, all this stuff from Thanksgiving last year through pretty much January, right? It was ridiculous. We went from 65 to 120. That's insane, month and a half or whatever it was. And it was super exciting. I think people genuinely had the best interest. I think a lot of people, though, a lot of the more seasoned stackers felt like it was the vindication for everything that they've believed forever, everything that they've been saying for 15 years or 10 years or whatever it was. It's here it is. And so they just kept kind of saying this price was sort of guaranteed. We've just been waiting for it to happen forever. And I think that's what pushed that narrative of okay, it's going to go to 200, it's going to go to 300, it's going to go to $1,000 an ounce. You saw that crazy talk, and it still could. It still could, in theory, right? Over the next 50 years. I don't know. Nobody really knows. I mean, who knows what's going to happen to the U.S. currency and inflation and global strife and all this stuff. But it's I think I don't know. I feel like there's more reasons why. Like, there's some people that probably do it like nefariously or maliciously, and there's I think a lot that just kind of got caught up in the excitement and the hype, and just wanted to kind of keep riding that wave of momentum.
Yeah, well, there's definitely an aspect to, like, a lot of stuff got built up and a lot of people got really excited. You see that.
Yeah.
And then there's an aspect to maybe a little bit of dishonest content from some channels that really their primary goal is to make a living off of YouTube.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
so, and so they kind of speak to whatever the current, the winds that are prevailing are. And that's why, and so it's a little bit of everything, but it's I don't think, obviously we never could have expected this sort of price run, but the fact that we've now kind of come back to where we were in November or whenever it was that we were at 65. I mean, this I hope will just wake people up to the realities of what metals are about, right? And they're not supposed to, I mean, I can tell you for me personally, like, I guess I thought I had a little bit more, diamond hands, so to speak, the way I have them with other assets, but I got really nervous when I saw silver. Like, my thing was like, this is crazy. Like, I need to sell into this because there's no way we're gonna be up at 70 or 80 or 90. Like.
Yeah, but why would you even feel guilty about that? Right? Like,
what's that?
Why would you even feel guilty about that though? Like, why do you have to drop your balls on the table and say, I have these diamond hands, I'll never sell, even when price quadruples in 3 months, right? Like, why is that a good thing?
Yeah, no, it isn't. But I think what happened, like when it went up so quickly, for me, I'm like, I've been around a while. This is what we've been waiting for. I mean, we talked about silver at 50, and people would say it was very, very common. And now, granted, it's like people just talking out of their butt, but it was a very common sentiment in chat that whatever it was, live streamed. Oh, when silver hits 50, I'm retiring. When silver hits 50, this $50 number was a number everyone talked about, or sometimes 60, sometimes 40. But it was like, that was a number that people were like, bro, bye-bye. I'm buying the boat, I'm buying the house, and I'm out of here. It hits that number. And so we shot past all that pretty quick, and we got up into those higher numbers. For me personally, I was like, I mean, I didn't sell all my silver. I didn't sell an ounce of gold, but I definitely, as that ratio contracted, and I'm like, wow, this is craziness, the way this ratio, we just busted through 50, I mean, for me, it made me want to take some profits for sure and roll that into other things. I mean, and I've talked about, I went heavy into oil this year. We'll see how that turns out. So far, so good, but, when I have big profits there, I'll roll it back into something else, but I've kind of learned over the years that and we mentioned this before, but I've definitely lost more money from not selling than from selling. And, it's so, for me, it was a little bit like, but I guess I got to put my mind in someone else who just got into it, right? And everyone's talking about stacking for the long term, and they're not thinking about maybe selling because they're like, what? Why would I thought we're stacking for the long term? And it's like, well, yeah, it's been a long road for me.
Yeah, I think that's the confusing part too, right? Is what is long term to everybody, right? It's different for every single person watching this, right? Some people have already been in it for a long term, and maybe they were looking for this opportunity to exit some of their position. I mean, obviously a lot of people sold because LCSs were.
Yeah, everyone. No one on YouTube sold. It's all these other people that sold. Not us on YouTube. I wonder how much Yankee sold. How much did Yankee and Silver Dragons? How much did they sell? They freaking sold a buttload.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know everybody's situations. I don't know if they even need to sell, right? They might have enough income coming in constantly that it's inconsequential, right? I don't know. Yeah. I would say it, and that I would be stunned. I would be surprised if they didn't sell something. I mean, with the way they've talked about it over the years, I would be very surprised. Well, Dragons, I mean, again, I don't want to I don't know too much about anybody else to say anything, but I know Dragons was doing that silver to gold trade. And he traded 100, like when it was 100 to 1, he traded for the silver, right? and then he traded back for the gold. I think it was in like 60s. So I mean, he's obviously, transferring metals, which again, he was obviously open and candid about that, so that was good. I think that would help a lot of new people to see that. And again, I don't know anything about any of these people's situations, but some of them have pretty massive stacks, that's for sure. And if they did have to sell, I don't think it would be even, they could probably throw 500 ounces out there and not even care.
Yeah, I think so. I'm sure they could. They have some pretty big stacks. So I mean, they've been in it a long time. Those dudes were stacking at $10 and $15 and $20.
Exactly. So it's all fun.
If they did not sell anything at 90 or 80 or whatever, I would be like, bro, I'm not saying sell your whole stack. Yeah. I'm just saying, do you have any debt at all in your life? And if you do, maybe you could get rid of that,
There's, again, everybody's got a different situation. So, I mean, that's what that's also the thing about stacking is the main point about this conversation though is like the shifting in the narrative. And we talked a little bit before the channel started. What do you think really caused the narratives to shift? Because I kind of like touched on my point a few times about just kind of chasing momentum and, not wanting to upset people or to trying to intentionally appease people so that you can kind of keep growing and moving forward. But like, what do you think caused the narrative shift?
Well, I'm good at pissing people off. So here we go. Pride, man. Pride. That is it. Because all you got, the reason that people shift their narratives is because they don't want to admit they feel stupid or whatever it is, but it all comes back to pride, as opposed to, because you got a bunch of people that have been saying the same thing. And so rather than calling it like it is, they basically shift the narrative to now meet what, because like something did shift, right? So what shifted? The price of freaking silver and gold and the rate of acceleration. That's a change. So for that to happen, and for the person, the individual, to make no change whatsoever in their current position on how they feel about everything, given what we just saw, the only way that's possible is they have to shift their narratives, because that way they can stay put. The market's changed, they stay put in their ideas, and they shift the narrative to now to meet a changing market. That's what I believe, and whether it be why people are so defensive about junk silver, or be it why people are like, we've been waiting for $50 silver, but now we're actually waiting for $150 silver. Whatever it is, it's pride, and because they're so entrenched in this position of whatever it is. That's something along those lines is what I kind of think is at the core of it. And listen, I run a Bible study on Thursday evenings, and we break down, we get into scripture and we talk about a lot of things, we pray for each other, all these things. And my biggest confession to my group, this is a group of 16 other men and women, right? Couples. And pride. Steve is a prideful son of a bitch, right? So when I say that's what the community has, this is something I literally confess to people who pray over me to try and help me be a less prideful individual. So pride is the granddaddy of all sins. Pride is something that exists, but you got to recognize it, because it'll wreck your decision-making process in all aspects of your life. So I say pride, but I do preface it with I'm not saying I'm not prideful, because I really am. And the people that know me best have literally been on their hands and knees praying for Steve to the Almighty to help him not be so prideful, So I'm not trying to say that's not me. I'm just saying that is what I believe the ultimate issue is.
Yeah. I mean, I can see it. It's, I know I'm guilty of it as well. Like with, some of my excitement when you are right, when you are trying to make calls and like where things are going to go, and you actually get it right. It's hard not to feel like I told you so, right? I was right. Listen to me, I'm credible, right? Like, but nobody cares at the end of the day.
Yeah. That's one of the, that's one of the fun aspects of making content. And that's why, like, some people don't get the dry humor, and a lot of people have dry humor when they're making content, right? And so, like, when I can be right about something and then like throw it out there and make a video about it, it's kind of a facetious thing, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, dead clock is right twice a day, fish.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Blind squirrel finds a nut now and then, right? But it's fun for content making when you can be like, hey, look, I nailed it, you know. And but for the most part, I mean, I think one of the things that's been not lost during this time, but it's like, you know, there has been, it seems like, and maybe it's just me because of some of the videos I've made, and I've been kind of bold in my statements, and so it's created a little bit of a wedge between people who love me and hate me. But it's like a bit of a fracture in the community in the sense of like, look, we forget the one thing: we're all stacking, we're all building wealth with silver and gold, and some of us maybe have the mindset to take profits, and some of us don't. But you know, it's a really good thing compared to most people that live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
Right. And so the worst stacker in our community is still doing some really, and I say worst in air quotes, you know, is still doing some really good things, you know, comparative to many people in society who are wasting their money on alcohol, cigarettes, drugs. They're wasting their money on every subscription service there is, and they're buying, you know, the $8 coffee every day and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And we got just listening to Philly Stacker, and he's waiting for a pullback. And he's talking about, hey, but I gotta scratch the itch. I gotta feed I gotta feed myself a little bit. So he buys a dime and a quarter of 90% silver every week until it gets down to where he wants it to be, and then he's gonna, you know, get back into it heavier. I don't know if he's in the chat or not, but you know, I don't know. There's just, it seems like there's been a little bit of this, like, you know, a lot of debate, and I've certainly been a part of it. I never did live streams before in my previous iterations of my channel. So the only type personality people saw out of me was my produced content.
Yeah.
They really didn't see fish off the cuff. Now they did see me with Pirate, but we're eating barbecue together. And we do lives together, eating barbecue and goofing off and having a good time. So they saw that side of me. But when you force people to start debating and like making, you know, and so there's been a lot of debate because live streams have become, and panels, right? Mm-hmm. You got 3, 4, 5 guys, and everyone's debating this and everyone's debating that. And it's like, man, we all have opinions, you know, and so we're all a bunch of opinionated people. I mean, we're all humans. So it just seems like there's been a little bit, that's something that also has been kind of lost in the run up of metals. It's like there's people that think that they know best and are maybe not even that. It's because there's so much debate going on. We think that other people think that, you know, and so when that's not really the case. It's just that we're all making content and we're all debating online and talking about these different things. And so it kind of has, because of the price in silver, right? We wouldn't be having all these debates if we were still sitting at $28 silver and $2,000 gold. You know, I mean,
it's what we hit on earlier, right? It's just that like the price run up definitely shifted the conversation. Right, it was, totally. You know. Now, obviously, I think somebody else, I think it was Jammies over there mentioned, you know, there's also been some stuff that has happened while the run-up has happened, right? Like we've had the COMEX issues, which kind of like, you know, you're shutting down on Thanksgiving night to a cooling issue on just the metals market, right? We've had, what was it? The refiners basically and wholesalers basically saying, stop sending me, you know, sterling, stop sending me 90%, stop sending me off random weighted, you know, 1.25 ounces or 2.5 ounces, right? We've had that situation happen, right? So there's been some things that have been kind of like punches in the gut, to steal what he was saying, just punches in the gut to your average everyday stacker. And where do you go to find answers to that? Well, I mean, right, you're going to these channels to try to get some, you know, feedback or some understanding, and I think that's when the narratives are shifting, and or like you talked about sort of how it keeps changing, like, you know, moving the goalpost of where, you know, where the end line is. I think it gives people these false promises of hope, you know. And again, I'm not saying that, like, you know, hey, this whole conversation maybe wasn't gonna happen, maybe it would have gone to 200, and, you know, this whole conversation today would be useless and wrong. But prices move up and down, and like you said, anybody who is stacking anything, if it's 90%, if it's $50 a week, whatever you're doing, it's still better than other people who aren't saving and investing in anything, right? That are just blowing their money, living paycheck to paycheck. So at the end of the day, like, everybody's still a winner, even though there were these kind of like fractions and divisions in thought of what's, you know, what should be getting stacked or what shouldn't, or what prices you should be paying, what price you shouldn't be paying, right? I bought a $175 American Silver Eagle, you know, like, for, you know what I mean? Like, come on, dude. I just bought a $225 Queen's Beast 2-ounce coin, right? So, I mean, I don't ever expect any of this crap to ever break even. I'm just buying it because I just want to stack something cool, right? And I don't care. Like, I do care about price. I pay attention to price. But if price was my determining factor, I think I talked to you about this in the comments of one of your videos. Like, if all I cared about was price and value and making a profit, sorry, I wouldn't even be in precious metals. That was never my intent. Precious metals were never my thing that I was trying to 2 or 3x my money in. It was my safe haven asset, and I've stayed true to that core belief this entire time. Like, I only wanted 5% of my. I wanted 5% of my entire net worth, asset value, in precious metals.
That's a really good point. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And like, my general idea is, as it relates to precious metals, it's just like you. Like, it's my safe haven asset. It's my it's for the long term. But I did find myself looking at quality a little bit differently than I had in the past when the price started really to run up.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I mean, there's some things that just kind of changed because the market changed. So, you know, it kind of exposed some different things that, okay, we got to consider this, we got to consider that we hadn't really looked at before. Because I always had, I mean, my original name, the Inefficient Stacker, was because I would buy any. One of my like famous videos was when goldbacks first broke out and nobody was stacking them. I dropped a video, and it was this obnoxious video where it kept getting more and more, and I kept putting more goldbacks on the table, and I was like, there was 101 goldbacks, and then there was like a whole bunch of 5 goldbacks and a whole bunch of 10 goldbacks. And I mean, it was a massive quantity. Now, this was back when you could buy them for 100 a piece on APMEX, and you got like a $1 goldback was like, I think $2, something like that, $2.50 if you bought 100 of them. It was super cheap when they first were coming to the market. So I bought a massive amount, right? So I don't even remember my point about that was, but
your stacking changed over time, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely my stacking changed over time, but I think I have what is it when you've been out in the sun for 5 hours straight? And,
heat stroke.
Yeah. I've been suffering from
I was
stroke.
too, but I built a golf simulator out in my backyard, and so I've played in the last 2 days. I've played like 10, 18 hole courses. So
wow.
I've been out in the sun and baking, and my back and my elbow's shot, brother. I can't even pick up this 1 ounce of silver. Yeah. I need to liquidate my stack just so I can carry it.
Yeah. So Littlefoot just said inefficient stacker indeed. And so that actually, thank you, Littlefoot. You've reminded me of what I was talking about. So like, I used to not care, basically. Yeah. I really didn't care because I had the mindset that you were talking about, which was, look, I'm stacking for the long term. I'm accumulating wealth. I sucked at saving my whole life, and now I'm like a saving maestro. I can save with the best of them. And I just and silver was relatively steady. Gold was relatively steady. You have pullbacks. I mean, you know, it would be like a 2% pullback, and Salivate Metal would do a alert, 2% pullback.
Yeah.
It's you know, that was like a big deal.
The floor is opened.
Yeah, that was a big deal back then. So I just stacked whatever, and it never did me wrong because I really didn't care. And I think there is something to that, right? That us stackers, like, just embracing it really doesn't matter if you hold it, you do own it, and so it's a good thing to just build your stack. You know, regardless of what the markets are doing. If you continue to stack every month, I mentioned that in my recent video where I did 100 pieces of gold update on Speedy there, and basically what I had done was I pulled 12 grams of single grams out, these Valcambi gram bars. I pulled them out, so they're no longer a part of that challenge.
Yeah,
but I was still stacking. So then I removed 12 pieces, I added 5 pieces, and gold dropped by $500 an ounce from where I was the last time I had done an update on this. But then when you factored it all in, I basically was still up $1,000 in value, overall value. And that just speaks to the point of like, you know, prices are going to go up and down, but if you continue to accumulate ounces and focus on I like to focus on pieces and ounces, the number of whatever, or the actual ounces of that. Then in time, year after year, not in time like in a month, but year after year, you're going to be in a good place. You know, I mean, unless we see, you know, gold drop back to $1,500, and then we're all saying, "What the heck is?" You know, I guess we should have sold at 5,000, right?
Yeah, well, but, we would have regrets. We'd be like, "Well, I guess I should have just left it in my savings account," right? Like, but
I mean, you know, for the most part, you're just going to be so much better off. So we debate about a lot of things on here, but in the end, man, I try and encourage people, just keep stacking. And I have probably, for better or maybe for worse, you know, got caught up in the debating type of stuff. It's fun. And
I mean, it's just fun. It's entertaining.
It's just flat out fun, you know. And I know I've rubbed some people the wrong way, and unfortunately, I apologize for the people that I've personally hurt. Apparently, I've personally hurt people with my words, my vicious words. But you know, it's an interesting time in the community, because what was, you know, the norm was we're just stacking. There you go. That's right. Old Speedy needed a buddy.
Speedy's friend.
We're just stacking, and we don't care, and we're just accumulating ounces, and we're all applauding each other for whatever we bought is now like this. And we're now strategists, and the amount of people reading charts and analysis and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I mean, I just look at the big picture of a chart. Oh, it peaked and it came down. Okay, it peaked and it came down. Right. So to me, that's like, yeah, okay, what goes up must come down. That's about people talking 200-day moving averages and this and that. And I'm like, I get that with stocks a little bit, but with the geopolitical stuff, with metals and stuff, I don't even know how you can even look at any of that stuff. I mean, I'm
still gonna keep charting because I love it. So
yeah,
so you know.
but I'm
you
just,
can come in and talk shit about it. I don't care.
I'm just saying, like, for me, I don't know how. I just don't see how it really. I don't know. I don't know how. I think it was it Jammies or somebody on a video was saying they're saying that the problem with charts is that they don't factor in like all the current events.
Well, I mean, yeah, a lot of them are just reactionary, right? So they're determinate after something's happened, either a period of time or something happened, right?
Right.
And just trying to understand the history, the past. But, you know.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think there's something to it, and that's where we go back to the like what changed and how this market has the mania, right? That I think was driven by, you know, a lot of the larger channels that were putting out videos that were really pumping where the metals were going to go. And I tend not to like, I don't follow the larger channels just because there's only so much in my feed that I can handle and stay current with all the small channel mafia bros, you know? So, but occasionally I'll go like, look, well, let's see what Yankee's saying. Let's see what Dragon, let's see what Silver Seeker, all these different guys, you know? And I'm not blaming everything on them, but they make content for views and price predictions and where the numbers are going to go. And really, it's like there's just been it's like the, you know, what goes up must come down, and that just went out the window because of the mania. And it was what goes up will never come down became the new, you know, when it comes down, it's coming back from 500 down to 400 or something.
Yeah, and then when it did go down, it's price doesn't matter. It's okay.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And now that it's gone down, we do videos about price not mattering. And I will say, I mean, I'm picking on Common Sense Christian. He has no idea who I am. I really do like that dude.
Oh yeah, I love his channel too.
I really do. But it's like, that's the type of stuff you see. That price doesn't matter, or not price. That this is where the price is going. This is where the price is going. And now it's like, price doesn't matter, and why we actually stack and all this other stuff. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of funny.
Well, I mean, if you had no plan ever, and we'll probably wrap it up pretty soon here, but if you had no plan with why you were stacking, you were just blindly throwing money at, you know, precious metals, and, you know, you just didn't have a purpose or a plan. And that, you know, again, I'm not saying it's not okay, but like, if you don't care, then just keep stacking. None of this matters, right? If you were stacking explicitly to try to turn a profit in the last year because you knew that there was a euphoric phase where you could kind of capitalize on it, then you probably should have been selling when it was 100, 120, right? Like hindsight. But I think for most of us, we had a plan with when we started stacking for a reason. Like you said, either to save money because we couldn't save cash and we were burning a hole in our pocket every time we saw it. Right, which is you wanted it to be illiquid. The whole purpose of that is it's illiquid. You have to go somewhere and sell it, and you don't want to do that. So I mean, if you had that, like for me, it's again, I just wanted it part of my asset diversification. So like the price in fairness, the price doesn't matter to me, right? Like if it's 5% of my assets, well, if price goes down 50%, well, it's no longer 5%. I'll buy more. Does that make sense? If price goes up, I just will stop buying and wait.
I think if I'm being honest, because I've been in metals for so long and it's always been boring and we had a little bit of there, that historically speaking, price did not matter. But then when I was as I've been apart for the past year, I'm like, well, maybe price matters a little bit, so
there are times where it does matter and you should change your strategy.
It shifted my mindset on some stuff. So I think it's okay, like we should just all be honest about that, right?
Yeah.
That there are, I'm with you, right? And I've always preached just stack, just accumulate, and in time you're going to be so happy you did. And in 10 years, 15 years from now, man, you got this fat stack. Don't worry about the price right now. Just keep stacking. But this has been a very crazy time and a very unique time, and it's a one-of-a-kind time, right?
Yeah.
In Silver's history. But I do have something here that in the chat, because I have my phone on here. Also, I completely apologize. Dragons, you told me that I would shift my camera. I'm looking still at StreamYard, and on StreamYard, the camera looks totally different. And then I finally halfway through this realized that I was shining my camera at my desk and not actually at the stack that I specifically displayed for everybody. So my apologies there.
I think they could see at least half of it.
Yeah, I know. Well, I scooted it over so everyone now can see it looks a little better. So I apologize for that, people. I was looking at a camera that shows the whole stack, and then I just noticed on my phone as I'm looking through this. But I don't know if it's possible for you to do this and grab this picture of this and put it up, and everyone in the chat look at this. But I just saw the most asinine thing in the chat from Silver Serpent. Where is it? Silver Serpent. What did you just say?
Silver Serpent.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Silver Serpent. He is
chicken with rice and runny pancakes.
Okay. It says so mustard and biscuits. He says he'll never forgive me for the Peter Pan thing because basically I ruined the dime because I pointed out that they used Peter Pan for the portrait. And then Silver Serpent says, I don't see Peter Pan.
It's Tinkerbell, isn't it? Is it Peter Pan or Tinkerbell? Hold on.
It's Julie Andrews. They literally use Julie Andrews for the. I mean, that is Peter Pan on a dime. I don't even know.
Where did you put this?
So I put it in. It was a post.
I got it. I'm coming. I'm working on it.
Okay, yeah, it was a post, and so I'm like, and so I just saw this. So they're having this debate in the chat about Peter, and I'm thinking, how can you not see this, sir? Sir, it's Peter Pan. JK saw Peter Pan. Listen, if JK saw it, JK's the standard on most things. So
we're off the rails.
Put a 1 in the chat if you see Peter Pan, and then put a 2 in the chat if you don't.
Please hold.
You've got to see Peter Pan. I mean, it is. Yeah, there.
One second. I got you. Give me a second.
We're on.
We're figuring this out as we go here.
Okay.
Boom. There we go.
Is it there? It just my screen went black.
It'll refresh. You might be a little bit behind the live.
Oh, okay.
Give it a second. There we go. It should be coming up.
Okay. There, Peter Pan. I mean, if that ain't Peter Pan, I don't know who is. That's freaking Peter Pan. Oh, we got a 1.5 from Littlefoot.
It's from the movie Hook, right? Or was it Hook or Peter Pan? Peter Pan.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I was just like, that is freaking. It's a boy. Exactly. Who and who? It's a girl. It's supposed to be a boy, which is Peter Pan, right? That because they have the girl play the boy, and for whatever reason, we're all okay with that. I have no idea why, but yeah, exactly, Peter Pan.
What the hell were we talking about?
I was just scrolling through the chat to say hi to everybody, and Serpent said, "Yeah, there you go. There's Peter Pan." I'm telling you, that's the Liberty Dollar right there. It's freaking Peter Pan. Unbelievable.
Goodness. All right. Well, I think the consensus is in. It's Peter Pan.
It's Peter Pan.
I don't think anybody said it wasn't.
No. The only one that said it was my partner in crime, the Raging Elephant, says it's not Peter Pan. The Rager is the one that does my. He does these for me.
The inserts, not the capsules, right?
Just the insert. Yeah, he does the inserts. Yeah, he's my
I
partner
pay
in
attention. I
crime.
told y'all I watched the videos.
Yeah. Oh, we got Thousandaire in the house. What's up, Thousandaire?
Yeah, we got a lot of
We're
great.
gonna talk
Yeah.
about you a little bit.
By the way, thanks everybody for being here. Appreciate you guys hanging out. I think we got the point across. Is anything else you guys want to talk about? You want to talk about, hey, can silver go back up to 120?
Well, I would just say that, like, if to sum it up, right, is that there's definitely, because the market over the past year has been freaking insane over the past 12 months. It definitely shifts mindsets. And so, as a stacker, I think you got to be careful on some of that stuff. And then also both not to you want to be careful in the sense of, like, don't let it just shift your total perspective of why you started stacking to begin with. Yeah. And then at the same time, don't be blind to the changing market conditions, that sometimes you have to adjust, and don't be so completely entrenched in this idea of, I'm never going to sell, because I think there's a lot of people that got talked out of selling, that were waiting for they were waiting for 150 or 200 to sell. But you know what? They could have sold at 90 or 100 and been just great. And now they're back to 65 and they're like, well, I just got in stacking at 50, Yeah. And it's like, man, you could have had a nice 50% gain or whatever if you wanted to sell, or, I know that's not why we stack, but we also don't stack a metal that typically takes off like this. We stack a very slow, boring metal that for the past year hasn't been boring. So that would be my takeaway, is that acknowledge that, yeah, it's going to change your perspective, but don't let it change it so much that you start doing stuff that you wouldn't normally do. Like, recognize why you started stacking to begin with and stay consistent to that. And then at the same time, don't be afraid to capitalize on some opportunities, because it's a changing dynamics. This is unlike anything we've ever dealt with.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes both ways.
Yeah. I mean, there's no one way, one what shoe fits all situation. I can tell you one thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a difference in what I stack. I still have my goal of collecting an absurd amount of $half, right? But I've taken a back seat on that just because prices were too high. I wasn't going to pay $30-$40 a freaking $half. So if price does come down, I will go back into that more heavily. But I'm literally just gonna stick with American Silver Eagles. As boring and as lame as that is, from what I found over this entire tumultuous period, right? The American Silver Eagle reigned supreme. It was always in demand. Even places that weren't buying anything would still buy American Silver Eagles. So it's as simple as that. I'm going to make sure a pretty large portion of my stack is in those.
No, I mean, we the more we talk, the more you and I find myself agreeing with you. That's really where I'm at, is I'm stacking Silver Eagles. And yeah, that's it, man. I at these prices, I forgot whose video it was. There was somebody, I think it was Silver State Stacker, he had a post, and the comment was, at these prices, like, what does it have you thinking? Are you waiting? Mm-hmm. Are you thinking we're going back up? Or you think it's going lower? Or where are you at? And for me, at 65-ish, we'll just call it, I'm getting to that point of, like, okay, I think I can start formulating a plan. Maybe I buy 5 ounces of Eagles a month. Maybe I buy, and then as we drop some more, maybe I start buying, 6 or 7. As we drop some more, maybe I start buying 10, and to ride it down. That's kind of where I'm at with silver. It's starting to, the ratios climbing back up and the prices climbing down are dropping. And it seems like a good time to start kind of buying in. I've always had the mindset that the worst thing that can happen is I just continue to lower my cost average on my previous purchase, and then if it starts to go back up, well, I'm glad I bought the dip and it's going back up. So it kind of goes back to, like, why we stack and being a steady stacker. But even you, right, like, to what we're talking about here, you've learned and adapted over the past year, and now looking at the big picture, you're like, I think this is the quality I want. Eagles.
Yeah. And I can tell you this too.
Yeah.
I never spent this because I was waiting, and the price of silver is now back to where it was when I sold for whatever this $5,000. So guess what? If it goes down another, $5-10, I'm gonna jump back on. There's no that was what I was waiting for.
I see your $5,000. I cannot raise it, but I will drop 3,500.
There you go. Don't make me go get more. No, it's like, how long do you want to do this, Fish? No.
I want to do it till we get about to 7,000, and then I'm sorry.
All right. Well, let me come back in just a moment. No, it's fine. No, but that was the point. Like, and I know we were talking about you. So we were talking about. I don't want to go too deep into it because I know we're late. But this whole idea of like, we want to get out of cash. Cash is trash, it's inflation, but the whole point was, if you do sell, like, you're not going to stay in cash forever, right? That's not the plan. The plan would be to get out of something when you think that it's high and then get back into it or into something else, right? When you can get more value out of whatever you're buying. So I mean, I don't know. I feel like my mindset has always been a little bit different than probably the most, like, a typical stacker of just accrue, wait, and hold forever, diamond hands it. That's never really been my style, and it's never really been what I've talked about. But again, I'm buying. I shift, like you said. I buy gold when silver's too high priced, and I buy silver when silver's too low priced. Right? It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a guy in the chat right now who's been really preaching this. And he talks about all sorts of different ratios, and even the silver to cash ratio, and just, about holding cash but moving from asset to asset. I mean, he's talked about all sorts of different crazy assets and different ways he's moved his money around. That would be thousandaire.
Yep.
And I think again, I guess it goes back to the two mentalities of there's a small percentage of the community, which is, they're not all SHTF guys, but they tend to fall more towards that and more towards just like, it's all about having the ounces. They really truly don't care about the price because they believe that silver ultimately will rule the world. And so there's that community, and then there's everybody else. And I think that everybody else could learn from the mentality of somebody like Thousandaire or someone like Dragoons, who's talking about the fact that, hey, we move assets around, and maybe you go into cash for a bit, and then because you pulled out at the top, and you buy back in lower. I mean, that's, people want to trade the gold to silver ratio. You can trade I guess it would be the silver to cash to silver ratio, right? You're in silver and you sell it at 100 and it drops to 60, and you buy it, and now and you're back into silver, but you got a lot more. I mean, there's a lot of ways to move your money around.
And if it had gone to 150, right, it is what it is, and we just move into something else that looks like an opportunity.
You gotta, but nothing goes up forever. I guess that's the one thing. If I look at, and I don't know where the mentality comes from, but that people really have a tough time selling, man. And I'm not trying to promote selling as stackers. But I'm just saying that the idea is you can move around, whether you move from silver to gold or you take some profit and you get back in. I mean, buy low, sell high is pretty much always been a thing, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it has been, but like, I also want to put myself in like a different perspective of, if all I had were my precious metals, and that was the absolute, like, that was it. That was my net worth. That was everything. That's my retirement. That's my inheritance to give, like, that's everything. Yeah. Well, I am going to diamond hands it. I'm not going to be selling it. And I'm also going to get excited that the valuation has gone up 3-4x, because I will feel like my life's ambitions and my trajectory was the right one. So I can also see why this pullback could be like pretty like crushing to some people.
Don't you think though we're about to get into like a back to boring phase here?
I hope so. I would love. I think I nobody asked me, but I think that we're going to get back to boring. I think we're gonna hit the low 50s, and that will set a new baseline, and then we will kind of ride that out for a long time. That's my prediction.
And if we get back to boring, all you're going to see from me is I'm not going to be talking about selling. I'm not going to be talking about taking profits because there's no profits to be had. We're back to moving sideways, slightly up, just stacking and accumulating, stacking and accumulating, right? And which is what stacking's always been about. And I think where some of the pushback was like, that's what it's always been about. I totally agree. But a lot of people were not flexible, in my opinion, to adapt to where we're currently at. And then we're probably going to go back to where we've always been for long. And now I have seen things and I tend to agree. I heard some people talking about, I don't remember what video it was or who I was listening to, but basically if you look at the charts and you as a chart guy, you could tell me this, basically it's like the frequency of the pumps is increasing. So when you look at historical big runs, like how often they happen, it looks like they might start happening more frequently. So whereas like from a 20-year period to a 15 to a 10 or what, I don't think it's gonna be every year.
I'll be honest, metals don't have that long of a chart, to be honest. I mean, if we're really getting candid,
they're go back to like 72.
Yeah, because it was only legal in 73, right? So I mean, the charts aren't really that helpful. But I do agree. Like in terms of the volume of change and the rate of change are pretty significant, but I've talked about this a lot of times. It's just because it's an open and free market now. Because it used to be, you used to have to go through a broker. Like you used to have to freaking write something on a piece of fucking paper, and ship it through a vacuum tube to some, at the other end, who would then take it up to a desk and and try to get your trade in. Like now that's not what we do anymore now. So like I tell people often, like, you could probably anything prior to like, honestly, like 98 to 2000 just doesn't matter anymore because the markets were so inefficient. So once you have the internet and you have lower cost of entry trading, because if you don't know, it used to be like $30 a trade. Like buying and selling, like that's $60. So if you were going to buy stocks, you had to have a lot of money because you weren't going to be able to make those margins anyway. So like it's just so easy, right? It's so free and easy, zero cost trades, zero cost accounts, blah blah blah. So now everybody can trade on any market, and when you bring in not only that, but also these multi-trillion-dollar funds, clearinghouses, market makers, all these people can come into these markets. They can, grab all of these into a basket of assets that they trade on a portfolio, and it makes you realize really quickly how insignificant you are when these funds decide to just move money from one asset class to another. That's when these, quote unquote collapses happen, these recessions happen, but it doesn't matter. They're just moving their money around. They don't care about you. They're just making their profit.
Thousandaire keeps super chatting me, just so you know.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Thousandaire. I don't have the volume on, so I can't hear them.
No,
I don't know if it's actually playing the alert or not, but thank you very much, Thousandaire Littlefoot, for becoming a member. Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah. So no, I mean, you've been talking about that. One of the very first videos that when I first found your channel, and then it was shortly after you kind of made your transition from your old channel to your old emphasis, same channel, old emphasis, new emphasis, now into metals. And that's exactly what you were like talking about, like the velocity of money, or just the way that, maybe not the velocity of money, but the ease of access to liquidity, the ease of access to capital, the ease of access to like, I can open up a Robinhood account and I can start trading the SLV, like no cost, right? I can, everything is accessible. And that I think should change our mindsets a little bit, as far as like just understanding, that things are going to react a little bit more wild, because there's so much access to everything, and they continue to make new products that to give people more and more access. It's funny you mentioned the cost of trades. I remember when, was it E-Trade? And they had their groundbreaking like $5 trades. It was a race to the bottom to get customers, right? To get retail customers and traders. So originally it was priced to almost be like a barrier to entry from the stupid money. Yeah. And then eventually somebody realized that if they can just like, 1,000x the quantity of transactions, and they take a small transaction fee, or they play the margins, right? So like if it's like a $5 or, whatever, a 5-cent spread,
Well,
Yeah.
if they take that 1 or 2 cents in between each transaction from the bid and ask price, that all they need is more transactions. So they realized, okay, let's open this up to everybody. Let's make it accessible to everybody. So then it was a race to the bottom to get clients to trade on their platform so they could get the trading transaction costs and stuff. So
Yeah, Jammies, you're right. It was Scott Trade I was thinking of. You're
all
right.
those, yeah, all those guys used to do all that.
Scott Trade. Yeah. And they had the commercial. He'd always fly in on his helicopter.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's another conversation I wanted to have with you at some point, but was talking about the idea of like lower income people are also more kind of like beholden to these market moves, whereas like, sort of like, you know, if you've got more income and you're able to shift into multiple different assets and you know these different markets, you're more comfortable with that. I think that's also what kind of helps some people not get so caught up in the hype and to realize like there are opportunities to exit, because you're saying like, why would you ever diamond hands it? Well, if you don't have another asset class that you can actually get into because you don't know how to trade stocks or you don't know how to get into real estate or land or something, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
If that only thing that you know are precious metals and cash essentially, well, selling doesn't make sense to you because you have nowhere else to go. And I think, you know, hopefully over time people can kind of become more and more sophisticated investors and grow their wealth. And, you know, it's not just growing your wealth, but it's protecting your wealth through diversification of asset classes. And that's what I'm all about. So
Yeah, no, I agree. I did some videos. I think I took them out of the regular and just put them in the members only, but it was like on my stacking strategy and you know, it was like basically I talked about my stocks, my real estate fund, you know, my bonds, my metals, my cash, you know, and then, you know, I've got separately, you know, I don't have a 401k, but, you know, IRA, a couple of those, you know, and so like having that diversity and of or, you know, of multiple assets that, I mean, if you really think about who's really been hurt during this run, definitely lower income people got legitimately hurt during the run up. I mean, I was still dropping, I'm not filthy rich by any means, but I was still dropping, you know, $500 a month on this or that. Yeah, it went from buying 2 1/10ths to 1 1/10, you know what I mean, of gold or whatever, you know, and you went from buying, you know, 2 5-ounce bars to buying 1 10-ounce bar or whatever. But with this run up, I mean, it like priced a lot of people out of them. I mean, we used to say things like, look, if you can only do $25 a month, man, just buy 1 ounce of silver a month, you know. And for a lot of people living a paycheck to paycheck, you know, that little bit of that they were putting into it of savings, like, hey, that was a good thing, you know, they're diversifying, they're adding some metals. Now it's like, well, okay, that it's actually 60, oh no, it's actually 80, no, it's actually $100 just for 1 ounce.
well, that's the sad part about it. That's the way it's always been like that, and it always will be like that. Like, the idea like the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. It's and again, I'm not trying to disparage anybody. I don't care about your income levels and like what you can and can't do. It's just the facts of the matter are, it's like the people that got hurt by 90% fish were the people that's all that they could afford to buy.
100%.
And the reason that they can only afford to buy that is that they have such a limited budget, they can't even get a 1 ounce. So like with other people, if you have the choice, so you're like, and this is something I want to kind of like discuss with you about earlier, was like, when you're like, why buy 90%, guys? You know, the 10-ounce bars are the most liquid or whatever. People can't afford that. So it's kind of like not a fair point, because yes, if you can afford to buy 10-ounce bars and 100-ounce bars and, you know, kilos and, you know, American Silver Eagles and blah, then obviously you have such a better option of choices because of your budget and your income. But I can understand the guy who's like, all I can afford is, you know, 2 dimes or a quarter or a $half every week or every, you know, month. I mean, it just sucks, you know, like they don't have the choice.
I agree with you that you're right. You're not wrong. And that's a very valid point for me saying don't stack junk, but if junk is all you can afford, stack junk, right? My only counter to that, and it's a very valid point, and that's actually the first person to ever make that point, is that in this community, there's only a couple people I know that stack a dime and or a quarter a month. Most people are like, look, I just bought $20 face in halves. Look, I just bought 3 rolls of dimes. Look, you know, like that's the way this community stacks.
Yeah.
Now there are those that stack on the margin and that's all they can afford. And so I get it. And hey, man, something is better than nothing. But so I was coming at it from the standpoint of new stackers getting into it. Like
Yeah.
one thing I saw a lot was, and I've heard it because I've watched these guys come and go. Like people, and I'm sure it's the same, right? We have our emails out there. People reach out to us. People talk to us, and so there's a behind the scenes chat that takes place outside of the comment section. And many people would get into stacking, and it's not the right thing. They shouldn't do it, but then they're told that fiat is horrible. They're losing all their value, and they get convinced that they have to get out of all their fiat and get it into metals. Nowadays, there's a lot more common sense that you hear, but hey, have some cash. It's okay to have some cash. You should have a little bit of cash, right? That's a thing for sure, and we preach that more. But that's not the case with everybody. And a lot of low-income stackers get into the community, and then they hear that junk's the best thing. So I was just coming from it from that standpoint.
Yeah.
I'm literally trying to look out for the guys that are going to get burned. To the big stacker, I mean, I go through this the right now, right? We've got 1,000 here. Not worried about you, bro. JK, no one's worried about JK. Penny, he's got a freaking vault. Raging Elephant, the guy's a baller. I mean, yeah, so we got nothing but ballers in here. But there's people that are not in those same shoes. And so that's kind of where I was coming from. But you do make a valid point. If that's all you can afford, yeah, it's tough, man. The metals have priced everybody out. And yeah, a lot of lower income are left dime to dime, right? Literally.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah.
I am getting summoned by the wife to come help support the puppy that won't go to sleep. So I will have to head out here. But in closing, man, I appreciate you again taking time out of your evening to come in here and chat with me on this channel, and also obviously the entire audience, anybody who's stuck through and just hang out and have these conversations. That's what ultimately I think this community should truly be about, is just disparaging ideas and thoughts and hashing things out and understanding what's the intent and figuring out the best solution for yourself based on, all the information that you can gather.
I can tell you, I mean, that word intent, I can say this, that with all my provocative videos I've made, my intent is to help people, right? It's never to hurt people. So I'm always coming from it from that angle. We all have a lot of different opinions. We can definitely all learn from each other. And so I like to listen to everyone, but yeah, that for sure is my intent, is to try and help people,
Yep.
and encourage people. Yeah.
Yep. Nope. Absolutely. So, but yeah, thank you all. And Fish, I apologize for the abrupt exit here, but I will have you on anytime you'd like to come on. We can talk about anything you want. So appreciate you, man.
All good, brother.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Peace.